If you're a salon or spa owner, cosmetology school gave you the skills to serve clients, but it didn't prepare you to run a business. You probably thought ownership would mean freedom, but instead you're working harder than ever, barely paying yourself, and worried that everything's going to fall apart the second you step away. Welcome to the station, where we give you real strategies, systems, and structure so you can step into the CEO seat where you belong. Hey friends, welcome back to the station. This is the podcast for salon and spa owners who want to build a business that doesn't just look good on the outside, but actually supports the life that you want to live. I'm Bree, founder of the Beauty Biz Agency, and I've got my amazing co-host, co-founder, and bestie here with me today. Hey girl, how are you?
Hello, hello. Doing good today.
Awesome. So good to see you, Chandra.
You too, always.
All right. So one of the biggest debates in our industry over the last few years has been this. Should I go deskless or should I keep my front desk? I think every time this topic comes up, people just get fired up for some reason. Some owners swear the front desk is outdated and they say everything should be automated or even handled at the chair. Others will tell you that their front desk is the heartbeat of their business and that they couldn't survive without them. Honestly, I get why it's such a big conversation. The salon front desk used to be where absolutely everything happened. It was the command center per se. But now we have online booking, we have tech systems, we have stylists who can do checkout from their phones. I think that role just looks completely different. So today we are going to break this down, not from a place of opinion, but from the actual numbers that you guys need to look at when you're deciding if you need a front desk or not. Because whether you are deskless or not, what really matters is how that part of your business is performing. That's the only thing that matters. Is it generating revenue or is it quietly costing you thousands of dollars? You ready to get into this, Chandra?
Yep, I think this will be a good one.
For sure. Now, before we dive into the numbers side of this conversation, we want to share with you a story about one of our members because this story says everything about what it looks like when your business finally starts working for you instead of constantly depending on you. She's been a salon owner for over 20 years. She's lived through every version of ownership, those seasons where you're fully behind the chair and holding everything together by sheer willpower, and the seasons where you're finally trying to lead but the systems just aren't strong enough to really back you up yet. A few months ago, one of her longtime stylists gave notice, and normally that would have sent her right into this panic spiral that we've all probably lived before. Just trying to figure out how to replace the income, how to reshuffle the schedule, and how to keep everyone else from completely falling apart and freaking out. But you know what, guys? When this happened this time, she handled it completely different. She came to us excited and super thankful and said, guys, for the first time in 20 years, I didn't panic when the stylist turned in her notice because I knew everything was already built and I had a proven plan that I was able to follow. She had a clear hiring process, an onboarding flow that didn't live in her head. It was actually written down and on paper, training guides that were already in place, and a leadership rhythm that kept things moving consistently. So instead of reacting to this situation, all she did was follow her systems. It was super simple. She posted the hiring ad, she interviewed from her hiring checklist, she extended an offer, and then she plugged that new stylist straight into her onboarding plan. And here's the part that excited Chandra and I the most. 30 days later, that stylist, she was already generating revenue. She wasn't still shadowing. She wasn't still getting used to things. She was actually producing. I remember this member telling us this is the first time that I've ever felt like my business was able to support me instead of the other way around. Chandra, I love this story. It's one of my favorites because that's what real systems do. They give you freedom. They make it possible to lead with clarity instead of reacting from that stressful point that we all tend to react from. We both watched this transformation happen up close. We coached her through it, 20 years of ownership, and it finally clicked. What stood out to you most watching her step into this level of confidence and leadership?
I mean, I think her surprise in herself and that it actually works. Like, I think she was so surprised when this happened, and A, she wasn't panicking. And then B, she had these things to make this next person go quickly and get them moving instead of it taking forever and being frustrating and possibly losing the new person already because she wasn't organized. And so I think that just the sheer surprise and the burden that is lifted off of her or anybody when we walk them through this process, it's just amazing. It's amazing to watch. It's amazing to see. It was really cool to see her like, I'm good. I'm shocked. This works. And it's like, yeah, we didn't make it up, I promise. But that sometimes seems to be what it feels like until they experience it, you know? But yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, she spent decades trying to figure this out on her own. Decades trying to do it and ending up in the same spot or a worse situation. All it took was a proven plan, a proven process, things that we teach inside of our mastery program every single day that allowed her to go from panic or chaos to just simple, structured revenue generating ideas. Pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about why this topic has blown up so much in the last few years when we talk about deskless or keeping your front desk. Every few months, you will probably see a post go viral in a hairstylist group or salon owner group. Somebody saying, we went deskless and we saved $70,000 a year. Then you're going to see probably a bunch of comments that follow that says, oh, yeah, we did too. Best decision ever. Our salon feels so much more modern. Then, right underneath that, another owner jumps in saying, you know what? We tried going deskless and it was a nightmare. Stylists were overwhelmed, clients were frustrated. We brought the desk back within 3 to 6 months. That's the reality of this situation. It's very confusing, and there are a ton of opinions out there. And to be honest, both sides are right. Deskless, it can work. So can having a front desk. But both can also fail miserably if you're not careful. The real difference, in my opinion, it isn't what you choose. It's whether your business has the structure, the accountability, and the data to support the choice that you make. So, why is this such a big deal? Because for most owners, the front desk feels like a very gray area. It's expensive, it's really hard to manage, and it's one of the first things that you question when money gets tight. It's one of the first areas that Chandra and I look at when we're going through numbers with our owners. So we get it. You're looking at the payroll number and you're probably thinking, if I could just take this off my plate, I would have maybe a little bit more breathing room. But the front desk, guys, it isn't just a payroll line. It's the control center of your client flow as well. So this is why you have to think about it so much. When you have a system there and it isn't running well, it's going to show up everywhere. It's going to show up in your stress, in your client retention, and in your bottom line. Now, let's kind of get real about what actually happens on both sides of this debate, Chandra, because I think this is where a lot of people just give their opinions, but they don't really dig into what it looks like. From your perspective, have you seen this being a debate on social media in the last year or two quite often?
Oh, yeah. I feel like it's always going around different groups constantly.
Yeah, 100%. Look, guys, when a salon goes deskless and it doesn't work, it's rarely because the idea was bad, to be honest with you. It's usually because the transition wasn't built on a true system. Stylists were probably told something like, you're going to handle the checkout now, but they weren't trained on how they were actually supposed to do that, much less how they could do that well, right? So they rush through the end of the appointment, they forget to rebook, they skip the retail conversation, and before long, the rebooking rate of the entire salon drops by 20% and retail completely tanks. Nobody meant to do anything wrong, they just didn't have a plan. On the flip side, when a salon keeps a front desk and it's not working, it's usually because the team has no targets. They're being nice, they're trying to stay busy at the front desk, but they're not producing revenue. They have to produce revenue. Calls are getting missed, clients are sitting too long before check in, nobody's following up on inquiries. All of this is happening. It's not always a people problem, though. And this is one of the things that Chandra and I try to coach people through. Everybody always blames the people, they always blame their team, and that's not always what it is. 9 times out of 10, do not smack me through this screen or phone or whatever. It is a leadership problem, not a people problem. Chandra, why do you think so many owners skip over these important pieces, like actually leading the front desk or creating structure for their stylist? Instead, they just react and say something like, let's go deskless, or, oh, let's just keep the same old, same old. They don't dig into anything, they don't create anything, they just do whatever they feel like doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the front desk gets forgotten. Like the owners are always focused on the service providers, the people bringing in revenue. They're not training the front desk properly. They're not making sure they know what they're supposed to do. They're not giving them goals to hit. They're just kind of floundering around, and then the owners get frustrated because they're not doing their job, and then they get mad and they're paying all this money for somebody not doing their job. And so I feel like that's what happens a lot. I think a lot of times the front desk is almost like an afterthought, like we need it, but we don't really do anything with them. And that's where that leadership piece, like you're saying, really has to come in, because they need to be the same as your service providers as far as, having the same goals and things in your business. And they just, I don't know. I mean, even in the beginning, I think I thought about them that way. And it was just kind of like, you got to have these people answering the phone, but you're not actually treating them the same, doing the same things with them that you do with the other team members.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to be completely honest with you here. I think the reason that owners jump to the decision of whether to go deskless or to keep it the same is because they're just too tired. They don't want to research and they just want to make a decision. They want something just to feel easier. And honestly, I get that. I really do. When you are stretched too thin, cutting something, it feels like control. It's the one piece you have control of. But control is never the same as clarity. Even if you're deskless, somebody still has to own the front of your business. This is a part that so many people miss. So let's walk through what is really at stake here if you just make this decision up out of thin air. If you're deskless and somebody isn't owning the front, you're in big trouble. I mean, Chandra and I have seen it. That means somebody has to be responsible for the things that Chandra said: answering the calls, confirming the appointments, greeting the guests, managing walk ins, closing the sales, protecting the flow of the day. If your stylists are taking all of that on, it is going to have to be very defined and it is going to have to be trained in detail. Otherwise, it is going to turn into whoever's free is just going to handle it, which is going to lead to inconsistency. And I'm going to tell you guys, inconsistency costs you a crap ton of money. 100%. Clients are going to start to notice the little things: a missed greeting, a rushed checkout, an unanswered phone. Those things are going to add up to a feeling, and that feeling is going to determine whether they come back or not to your studio. Chandra, how many times have we seen owners blame marketing or blame the industry just being slow or the economy, when really it was their front end experience that lost the clients, and that's why they're not making the money that they were?
Oh, yeah. I think that happens all the time. I think that front desk is kind of make or break for your business, how you go about it, whether it's deskless or there's a human. Either way, is that is the front line of your business. And that's part of that guest loyalty and the guest trust, is that consistency that's happening always up there first.
Yeah. Retention is always the issue, and retention starts with systems, period. If your marketing is great or if it sucks, it still comes down to retention at the end of the day. This is where we see owners lose so much. They don't even pull these numbers and realize how many people they are losing. Okay, now let's look at the other side. Let's say you've kept your front desk, but it is not producing. You have to stop and ask what you're actually paying for. That's a very, very important question, because a front desk, they should drive revenue every single day. That means measurable results. It means pre-books, it means retail, it means retention. If they are not impacting those numbers in your salon business, they are a very expensive comfort zone. That's the way I like to look at it. And I want to be really, really clear. This isn't about you guys just firing people. It's about redefining the purpose of what you're doing. If you've got great people that's sitting up at your front desk, give them the tools and the accountability that they need to become those profit drivers instead of just greeters. That's something you have to focus on. Train them on scripts, conversations, how to convert people, how to track results on a daily basis. Because if that team isn't led, they have no idea what to do, and that's not their problem. They're guessing, right? And guessing in business is going to be one of the most expensive things that you do. Chandra, if you were an owner listening right now and you're not sure whether your front desk is producing or not, what's the first question that you would ask yourself?
Well, I mean, if you're not sure if they're producing, I guess it would mostly be what is their job? Like, what systems do you have in place for them? If you don't have any systems in place for them, then they're probably not helping to produce anything for the salon. And I think that, I would also look at like how often are you checking in with your front desk team? How often are you making sure that they are staying on task and handling things to your expectation? Because I think most of the time that's not happening. And that's what's losing that retention. That's what's losing those clients to come back if you have that inconsistent experience up there and you don't even know you have it. So I would definitely check in on that stuff first.
And pull those numbers. Look at those numbers because emotion will tell you, I think this feels okay. It looks like they're doing what they're supposed to do, but data, that's what's going to tell you, here's what's actually happening. The hard truth is you can't manage what you don't measure. You are going to hear Chandra and I repeat that over and over and over again throughout all of our episodes, really, because it's the absolute truth. If you don't know how many calls are getting missed, how many rebooks are happening or not happening, or what your retail per ticket is, you don't have enough information to decide whether your current setup is working or it's not. That's the real reason this debate, I think, keeps circling around year after year. People don't pull that important information. Owners aren't really arguing about desks. They're arguing because they're frustrated, and they're frustrated because they don't understand. They're reacting to symptoms, stress, payroll, burnout, instead of actually diagnosing the real issue underneath, a lack of defined systems and leadership accountability. That's what it boils down to. The owners who get this right, they all have one thing in common. It's one simple word, and it's clarity. They know exactly what's happening at the front of their business, who is responsible for what, and exactly how to measure it. Guys, once you know that, the decision about having a desk or not having a desk, it becomes really obvious. You don't have to just guess anymore or do what your emotions tell you because you're leading with facts. And that's what I want you to really, really understand from this conversation. The setup doesn't decide your success, the systems do. Period. Mic drop. That's just what it is. Chandra, before we move into the next part, I want to ask you this. When you are coaching owners through big operational decisions like this, because this is a big operational decision, what is the one mindset shift you wish that they would maybe make a little sooner than they usually do?
I mean, I really think the biggest mindset shift when they're making those changes is kind of being the leader, like you said, actually not being an emotional reactor and actually looking at data to help them make that decision instead of just I'm annoyed with the front desk people, so now we go deskless and that's it, right? Like I think it's just having that mindset shift to actually know, okay, what do I look for? What is that data to tell me which direction I should take this?
Oh yeah, I agree. That is amazing, amazing advice. Okay, so we kind of talked about what's going on with this debate, what you really need to look at, all of those things. But we want to give you some steps that you can start with today if you are wanting to know if your front desk is generating revenue, if you're trying to decide if you want to get rid of your front desk, or if you're trying to decide to bring it back. So here's some things that you can do. Step one, track every missed call for 2 weeks. You would be shocked how many owners have no idea how many calls their salon misses each and every week. If you've got a front desk, this number shows you how well they are managing the flow. If you're deskless, this number shows you how much opportunity is slipping through the cracks. Missed calls equals missed revenue. It's that simple. Chandra, when we've done this maybe with our coaching clients or in our own salons because I know we've both done it. How often does this number surprise people, or how often did it surprise you?
I think they're completely shocked. I think they don't even realize how many calls are even coming into the business, much alone how many are actually getting missed. I mean, I even sometimes now, we have front desk and they'll get busy and the phone will ring to my phone if they don't pick it up in a certain time. And I do it on purpose so that I can actually see, like, how many times is this not actually getting answered? And even though it's rare, it still even happens now. Like, what's happening over there? So then, of course, like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But I think they're always surprised and shocked at how much lost business there is just from that one simple thing.
Absolutely. It's always way higher than they think it is. And when you guys spin it a little bit and you put dollar value on it, it is so freaking eye-opening. If the average service ticket in your salon is $150, let's just say, right? And you're missing 5 calls a day, that is over $18,000 a month walking out the door, depending on your team size, right? Like, you have to think about all of that, but that could be up to $18,000 a month that you're missing out on. So the question you've got to ask yourself isn't, do we need a desk? The question is, do you have systems that are going to protect the money that you're missing out on? Step number 2, audit your rebooking rate. This is your stability number. If rebooking is low, you are going to always have to chase new clients. Whether you're deskless or not, rebooking should be happening before the checkout, minimum at checkout every single time. If you have a front desk, it's their responsibility to close that and to do that confidently. If you are deskless, it's on your stylist, and you need to know if they're actually doing it or not. So run your rebooking reports for the last, I don't know, 90 days. If your salon average is below 70%, that is a huge red flag that something at the front end of your business is completely broken. Chandra, when you see salons struggling with rebooking, in fact, we just went through this with one of our members, what do you think is usually at the root of it all?
I mean, well, I think they don't have a system for rebooking. Number one is everything can pretty much be traced back to systems. And I just think they're not making it a priority. They're not training the team on how to do it. They're not training the desk on how to do it. It's like up for debate, and it should just be part of your client journey, part of your guest journey. And I think that's where they miss the boat a lot, is they're not making that a priority or making that part of that guest journey and setting those metrics around it and tracking those metrics and making sure it's getting better. So
Either no one's owning it, or they're completely afraid of sounding pushy or salesy, so they just don't do it. The good news is both of these are fixable with training and with scripting and with systems, just like Chandra said. All right, number 3, look at retail per ticket. Okay. This number tells you how confident your front end or stylist are in the value of what you offer. If you've got a front desk, they should be helping close that sell as well. People don't realize this, but yes, they should be doing that. They're not just bagging the products, they're not working at a grocery store. They need to be selling those too. If you're deskless, your stylists are going to need a whole lot of confidence, timing, and language that's going to fit your brand so they can figure out how to get it inside of that guest experience that Chandra talks about. You're not just selling shampoo, guys. You are prescribing the exact thing that is going to support their results. If your retail per ticket is under $15, it is time to retrain whoever is owning that conversation at the checkout or in the chair, 100%. Chandra, how much of a difference does it make when we get this number right? Not just in profit, but in overall professionalism.
I think it helps position your team back as the expert in the industry instead of them just getting it randomly. It does help your bottom line. It's going to boost your profitability, and it's going to boost your revenue overall, help you pay for any of those team members that you're paying for. So it's really, really important to be able to train them to close that sale effectively, for sure.
Absolutely. And that kind of takes us into step number 4. Calculate your payroll percentage for the front desk. If you have a front desk, you should know what you're spending on it relative to your total service revenue. Okay. A healthy range is about 8 to 10%. That's it. If you're paying more than that, it doesn't automatically mean that you need to make cuts. It just means that you need to evaluate whether that role is being led to produce in your studio. So pull those numbers, look at what payroll is costing you, and then ask yourself what it's giving you in return. I think that's the simplest way to put it. Step number 5, evaluate that client experience flow. This should be done constantly in your business. This part doesn't live in your software, it lives in observation. So you have to get involved here. Watch what happens from the moment a client calls or walks in to the moment that they leave. And after that, if you have a front desk, are they greeting consistently? Is there warmth when they're greeting people? Are they maintaining eye contact? Is there a smooth flow? If you are deskless, do your stylists know how to transition from that service provider to check out smoothly? Because it's a different scenario and they can't make it feel rushed and they can't make it awkward. It's all about energy when it comes to this, I think. The front end sets the tone for your culture and for your brand experience. And if you're hearing clients say things like, you know what, I don't know who I'm supposed to check in with, or I felt like I was in the way, that's feedback, guys. And you need to take that very, very seriously. Chandra, why is this so important?
I mean, I think that's going to be one of the biggest drivers in your business. So you've got to make sure that you've got that dialed in 100% and that everybody is performing it the way that you expect it to be performed. Because that, again, what we say all the time, consistency is king. You have to be consistent in everything that you do. And I think that's one of the pieces of the puzzle to really, boosting that client retention and making sure everybody's doing what they need to be doing.
Absolutely. All right, step number 6. This is BBA mantra right here. Decide based on data, not emotion. After you've looked at things like the missed calls, the rebooking, the retail, the payroll, the client experience, you want to lay it all out side by side. Where are the breakdowns? What is working beautifully that you want to protect? Think about that. What is draining your time, your money, your energy that actually needs to be restructured? That's how you start making decisions with confidence. You might realize that your desk is worth every single penny because they're driving revenue and they are protecting your sanity. Or you may realize your stylists are ready to take more ownership and they are going to thrive in a deskless setup. That may work for you. Either way, you are choosing from clarity, not exhaustion, not frustration, and not just trying to save money. Chandra, if there's an owner listening right now and they feel very, very overwhelmed by these 6 steps that we gave them, what is one simple place that you would tell them to start?
I mean, I would kind of start with what you're currently doing with your desk and then analyze the data for that. See exactly, is it worth it? Is it profitable? What are we missing? What's happening? Because I think that's going to tell you which direction you should go and which steps you should take next. Because if you don't even know what's happening up there, or you don't have a plan up there in place now, then I think that all of that stuff is just, you're going to have to do all of it. So I think really analyzing where you're at and then deciding exactly where you should go based on that information that we just went over.
Exactly. Start small if you have to, but start somewhere. It only matters that you start because the longer you wait to try to get clarity, the more money you are going to lose without even realizing it. I bet some of you guys have lost tens of thousands of dollars that you never even knew. Before you start tearing things apart or making changes, though, slow down and look at what's actually happening. That's what Chandra just said, right? Don't start being that bull and just go in there and tear everything up. That's not going to work. Pull the numbers, watch the flow, talk to your team, do those things. You are going to see pretty quickly where those gaps are. And it's usually not where you thought they were. I have surprised myself many times because I thought I knew the answer. But when I really audited things, pulled the numbers and looked, I wasn't anywhere close to what I thought it was. Once you've done that, the decision is going to become just a lot clearer for you. You are going to know whether the issue is payroll, whether it's the processes, or whether it's the people that are causing the issue. And you can fix the right thing instead of just flying off the handle and making some decision that may shoot you in the foot later on. It's really important. Chandra, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, I think that really is where you need to start and where you need to look at. And if you need to even, like, just for example, really quick, one of the things that I do just to give you guys a little bit of clarity on how you can make this work is I sort of have a hybrid situation in my salon. We have a desk for the majority of the day, but then there's 2 hours every night where we don't have coverage. And I'm not going to hire someone else just to come in and work for 2 hours a few nights a week. And so we've trained our team, our assistants at night to take over that part. So they go to the stations and they check people out. They make sure they're answering the phone. They make sure our guest journey is still being followed, but it can kind of take on a different life when you need it to. So I think really analyze everything that you have and see what is the best fit for your specific situation because everybody's got a different situation. Whatever is going to make the most sense for you is the direction that you should go with it. So don't make it so complicated. Just make it simple. I feel like that's where everybody goes instantly is they're like, I'm going to blow everything up and I'm going to start over. And it's like, you don't need to do that. You need to like just take a step, figure out the best thing for you, and then start moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think that was a great example for you to share too. So thank you for sharing that because I think that is important. And this is one of those decisions to where you are going to get clarity if you do everything that we talked about, but it shouldn't be a real rushed decision unless you are in big financial trouble and you have systems that you can go deskless with. So it can't be a rash decision for sure. Okay, let's switch gears for just a second and jump into today's listener question. Chandra, this one says, I've got a stylist who's been with me a long time and she is absolutely amazing behind the chair, but she's really resistant to any kind of change. Anytime we update policies or systems, she gets really frustrated. She pulls back completely and shuts down. How do I handle that without losing her?
Okay, so I have one of those, so I can speak to this firsthand. When you know those personalities, I mean, one recommendation I have is I when I'm going to make changes, I actually will pull that person aside and I will talk to them sometimes first, depending on what it is, but most of the time I will. And I will make sure that they feel comfortable. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. We're going to make this change. I know you don't like change because we're very transparent in my salon. So we're open about it. I know she doesn't like change. She knows she doesn't like change. So I'm trying to work with her to make sure we can have the best transition into whatever we're trying to bring in, whatever policy or anything like that. So sometimes when I have somebody like that, that's what I do. I try to be respectful because of their freak out because that's what they do. And there's nothing you can do to control that and just kind of try to make it be as smooth a transition for them as possible. So then when I announce it, they're not like, oh my God, they've already had time to process. They've already had time to work out, ask their questions, do their things, and then happy day, we move on.
Yeah, that's actually great information. I bet a lot of salon owners would have never thought to do that. So I love that you do that. I think something that we need to remember too is that resistance usually comes from fear. It's not really from defiance. When somebody's been with you for a really, really long time, they've built comfort in how things are. So when you start tightening systems or asking for more accountability, it can feel like they are losing control or losing status in some way. We're not meaning that, but that's what it feels like. And I think this is where leadership really matters. You have to separate the emotion from the standard. You can acknowledge their feelings. I know this is going to feel different, but you can do that while also standing firm in what your business needs. So you still have to make the decision, even though they aren't, completely comfortable with it sometimes because it's what's best for the business. I think that's really, really important. Chandra, how do you help owners kind of walk that line between empathy and holding the line? I know we've answered this before, but I feel like a lot of owners really struggle with this.
Yeah, I think a lot do. And that's one of the things that I always feel like I'm a little frustrated about sometimes when I'm trying to help them because I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is so easy. So I think the biggest thing is really like it's black and white. Like whatever you're doing with your salon, your business, your policies, your values, your everything, it's black and white. And you have to stick to that no matter what. But that doesn't mean you go around like an iron fist and be a crazy person all the time. It means this is how it is. This is how we are. This is our culture. This is what we do. Whatever it is that you're trying to change or do or create. But you have to always come in with that mindset of, like, I don't put myself on the employee side necessarily, but I always think if I were working for someone and I was presented this information, or I was going to have to walk into this change or whatever that is, how would I receive it? Right? Like, am I going to just be talked at and whatever, and then the owner's just going to disappear? Or, are they going to have some empathy, like, for whatever it is? Help me walk through that transition. Help me be part of the transition. And I think that's where empathy kind of comes in, is when you're dealing with people, right? And you're working with people, and you have to be cognizant and empathetic in a way to whatever it is that is the black and white rules, or whatever you're trying to grow or do. And I think that's where you have to learn that fine line between those two things. You can't just expect people to fall in line because you said so. You have to be there to help them do that. You have to be there to help them with those things. And so that's would be my advice when you're trying to walk that line between empathy and holding the line down, right?
You know what fascinates me every week when we get on here and we're talking about all this stuff is we realize how much there is for owners to do. Like, there is so much. And this is why we want you owners out from behind the chair, or at least to have that choice, because there is so much that is sliding through the cracks that you're not even aware of, that can make your team stronger, your business stronger, bring you in more revenue, bring you in more profitability with every single thing that you can, attend to and take care of. And so we're saying this because we've been through it. We saw all of these things slip through in our own business. We were able to pull ourselves out and realize the huge list of things that we needed to really pay attention to once we were able to. If you're out there, you're listening to this and you're realizing that you've been going back and forth about whether to keep your front desk or to go deskless, here's what we want you guys to walk away with today. You don't need to copy what every other salon out there is doing. You just need to understand what is going to actually work for your studio, for your business. Don't ever make the decision out of frustration. Make it from clarity. And we told you how to get that clarity. If your desk isn't producing, don't assume it means the role doesn't work. Look at how it's being led first. If you've gone deskless and it feels super chaotic, don't assume that that means it can't work. Look at what's missing in those processes first. I don't think there's a right or wrong model here. There's only what's structured, what's led, and what's working. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you are out there and you are ready to stop guessing, start measuring, and build a front end system that truly will support your salon business, this is the time for you guys to lean in and get these systems and processes created. Because when that part of your business runs well, everything in your life is going to get easier. Your schedule, your stress, your profit, your peace, your freedom, everything. All right, guys, if this episode helped you see things differently, share it with another salon owner who needs to hear it. Please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review so more owners can find the station. Also, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss what's coming next. Chandra, how can our listeners keep up with everything we've got going on at the Beauty Biz Agency?
Yeah, make sure you're following us everywhere on Facebook and Instagram at the Beauty Biz Agency, and on TikTok at the Beauty Biz Mentors. And definitely stay in touch. Shoot us any questions. We love to, help our listeners. And so if you can send us some questions, we can try to answer them on the podcast or when we're doing some other stuff.
Absolutely. And go visit our website, www.thebeautybizagency.com. We have a ton of free resources. We've got a ton of information that you can use and implement almost immediately in your salon business. And if you're ready to get out of the situation that you're in, we have coaching options that fit pretty much everybody's needs. So be sure you check that out. With that being said, that's a wrap for today. You've been listening to the station where salon owners stop babysitting and they start leading like the CEOs they were meant to be. Until next time, set that standard, keep your system strong, and make sure every part of your business is working for you, not against you. Now go out there, make bank, run the show, and ditch that chair. And as always, keep slaying those business goals with a whole lot of swagger. If this episode lit a fire under you, don't just walk away and let it die out. Deep down, you already know where you want your business and your life to go. And the truth is, The only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is a real plan to get you there. That's exactly what we help you build. So if you're ready to stop trying to figure it out on your own, head to thebeautybizagency.com and book your free strategy call. That call can give you the clarity that you've been needing and a real plan to move your business forward. Because at the end of the day, the only thing standing between you and the salon business you've been dreaming about is whether or not you're willing to take the action and the steps in order to build it.